Hi, I'm Michael Santos, and I want to thank you for sticking with me. I know that sometimes these programs can get a little dull and a little long, and I'm going to do the best that I can to keep bringing information that is pragmatic, that is something that you can use. And it's my hope that you use this information to build a better life, to not only get through your prison journey, but build a life that is going to bring you enormous success, enormous fulfillment, enormous meaning in your life. I can tell you that none of that is going to happen by accident. Regardless of where you are right now, what challenges you are facing, what difficulties you have in your life, at any given moment, you can start turning the page, writing a new chapter of your life, building a better life. It just all begins with commitment. It all begins with the decisions that you are prepared to make right now. And I know that it's not easy because you've got a lot of negativity around you, a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges. I know those difficulties and challenges because I went through them all. I still go through them. Those difficulties and challenges, you got to learn to embrace. You got to learn to say, I expect obstacles and I expect struggle, but I'm going to succeed anyway. And when you do that, when you choose to do that, that is when you really begin making an affirmative step to move the needle in your life, to begin this path of success, this path of a journey where you are on a plan to achieve what you want to achieve. And we know how we define success because you've been going through quite a few of these lessons already. You know we define our success with these values by which we profess to live. You know that we set clear goals that reflect our commitment to those values. And once we've done that, once we've established our values and our goals, we can then move on to the straight A guide, and it all starts with attitude. What's the right attitude? It's 100% commitment to success as you've defined it. You got a strong aspiration. That means you can see what you want to become. And then it's just a matter of closing the gaps, of taking you from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. And what do we need to do? We know that the old cliche, a 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step. You've got to take those first incremental action steps. And those incremental action steps may include reading a book, may include writing a letter, may include separating yourself from bad influences and surrounding yourself with good influences. It may include setting goals that say, I'm going to achieve, my GED within this period of time. I'm going to keep a clean disciplinary record for this amount of time. These goals and these action steps that we take, they have to be something that we control. They require action. They require something that we are doing. And we've got to hold ourselves accountable to get there. And once we've done all of that, that's when we're on a deliberate path. And that's when we become more aware of opportunities. You see, opportunities are always around us. They're always around us. But if we don't have our head in the game, if we don't know what we're doing, then we miss those opportunities. There's an old saying from the Bible, and I'm not by any means a Christian scholar or a scholar of religious texts. I know a lot of people are in prison. I was not one. I read the Bible every day because I found messages in people who had gone through struggle. And I remember one story. It was called The Story of the Talents. And when I was in prison, that was one of my strategies. I said I would start with the first page of Genesis and read a little bit every single day, all the way until I got to the last page of Revelations. And then I would simply go back to the beginning and start again. And I did that numerous times through prison, just as a method of really strengthening my own spirituality, but also learning from the teachings in there. I mean, that book has been around for so many thousands of years, and it's influenced many people on earth. So I wanted to learn from them. And there were several stories that stuck out, but one of them that has to do with this concept of awareness is the story of the talents. And it's the story of a wise rich man who divided his assets up between his 3 kids. And I don't remember the details, but it was something like, I'm going to give this one 10 talents. And I guess talent was a measure of currency back then. I'm going to give this one 10 talents and see what he does with it. I'm going to give my middle son 5 talents and see what he does with it. And I'm going to give the younger son 1 talent and see what he does with it. Well, the 10 talent guy invested it and did it. Maybe it turned it into 100 talents. And the middle guy, he was a little bit more conservative, didn't want to do too much with it, and he turned the 5 talents and he invested into something and he turned it into 15 talents. And the one guy who had the 1 talent, he was, a little disappointed that he only had 1 and he didn't want to risk it, so he just saved it all. And so when the master came back, he said, well, what have you done with the talents? And the first guy said, oh, I invested it. I know you like to reap rewards and you like to invest, or you like to grow. So I invested it here and now we have 100 talents. And the master was so pleased. He said, job well done. Now I'm going to give you more responsibilities. And the middle guy said, how did you do? And the middle guy says, well, I wanted to be safe with it because I know you don't like to lose. And so I put it over here, but now we have 10, it's grown and we didn't lose anything. We have now 10 or 15 talents or whatever. And the master says, job well done. Okay. And I'm going to reward you with, according to what you've done. And the last one, how did you do it with your 1 talent? And the guy said, well, I knew you didn't want to lose anything and I only had 1, so I just saved it and here's your talent back. And the master got so angry with him by telling him, if you knew that I was somebody who didn't want to lose and always wanted to grow, why didn't you do something with the time? And the message of that story was that I think that to those who prepare themselves and take advantage of opportunities, more opportunities are going to come. You've got to be aware of those opportunities, though. You've got to keep your head in the game all the time. I can tell you that the opportunities that opened for me, they were available to every single person with whom I served time. Any person could have picked up a pen and started writing to universities and gotten into school. Any one of them. Any one of them. I was in prison with tens of thousands of people. Any one of them could have continued writing to people and gotten into graduate school, even though they didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. I persuaded the schools to admit me, even though I didn't have any money. And it's all detailed in my books of how I did that. But the message was that I was aware. I was thinking about my avatars. I was thinking about what would they expect me to do? What can I do when I am here to prove worthy of their respect, of their investment in me? And by asking those kinds of questions, I had my head in the game. I understood I have got to develop my communication skills, because if I learn how to communicate better, both orally and with a pen, I am going to open more opportunities. Now, I don't pretend to be the greatest writer in the world or the greatest communicator, but I am somebody who's always going to try. In fact, I'm trying right now. Right? I'm not a professional videographer, as you guys probably know. I don't know how to mix these things perfectly, but I just try because I think it's so important to communicate the message, to share this message of strength, of overcoming struggle, of pursuing a methodical, deliberate plan to success, that I'll do whatever it takes to get in there at my own expense, because I really believe this is how I can prove worthy of all the blessings that came my way. I learned from Socrates. I learned from Nelson Mandela. I learned from Malcolm X. I learned from Viktor Frankl. And what I learned from them is that the harder I work to show more people how to achieve their highest objective, the more successful that I can become. The more I can help somebody else achieve a higher status in life, a higher opportunity course, the better off things are going to be for me. But I've got to learn how to seize opportunities, or I got to learn how to create opportunities. And it's not easy. It just requires preparation. And those preparations may require hundreds of hours. They may require thousands of hours. They may require tens of thousands of hours. But if I know what it is that I want, as articulated by my values and my goals, and if I move forward with 100% commitment, and I have an aspiration that shows me what's going to happen if I stay on this path, and I take those incremental action steps and hold myself accountable, well, I'm going to be aware of more opportunities. And the every achievement that I that I take on, it's going to position me for something more. That was the case while I was in prison, and that is the case now that I'm out here in society. We have to strive to be the best in the world at something. Now, when I say the best in the world, understand the context of that. I can tell you there are a lot of people who write far more eloquently than I can write. There are a lot of people who can speak much better than I can speak. Okay? I get that. I understand that. It reminds me of another story from Stephen King. I remember reading this story, and if I've said this before, forgive me. I talk all, that's part what I do for a living right now as I talk, and I don't know if I've told you this before. But there's this story of Stephen King, and he's being interviewed, and the journalist asks him what he has to say to critics. Or rather, actually, it was James Patterson, the author. And the journalist asks James Patterson, what do you have to say to critics who say that you are not a very good stylist as a writer? And Patterson said, well, I'm not a very good stylist. He said, the truth is that there are millions of people that don't like what I write. Fortunately, there's a few million people who do. And that's kind of how I feel. I know that I'm not connecting with everybody, but I'm hoping to connect with some of you. I'm hoping that some of you will see in this Straight A Guide course, this program. I'm hoping that some of you will see through stories like the one that Rodney White told us, or Seth Ferranti told us, or Michael Justice told us, or any of these other people that I've been profiling through this course. I'm hoping that you will see that every one of them has one common theme in their story. And that is, when they were in prison, they had a turning point. Weldon Long, the first guy I profiled, his turning point was his father died, and Weldon was ashamed that his father never saw him as anything more than a petty criminal and an addict. And he decided to make a change right there. My change was reading Socrates while I was locked inside of a segregated housing unit. Okay? I don't know what situation or predicament you're in right now. All I know is that if you're watching this, because I'm only showing this and I'm only filming this for people in prison, if you're on this path, you are on a path that can lead you to a better life. If you are aware, if you keep your head in the game, you are going to see opportunities that you can seize, or you're going to have the strength within to create opportunities out of nothing. Out of nothing. It's just going to come from nothing more than an idea, perhaps, or a pen, or some kind of way you are going to put yourself in the pathway of success. And somebody's going to notice. And when that somebody notices, that's when the second concept of awareness takes place. You see, if you're on this path, not only do you become aware of opportunities that you can seize, but the world becomes aware of you. And the more people that become aware of you, the more chances you have of seizing opportunities, of opportunities that can grow and make a meaningful, measurable difference in your life. I told you that in my case, very early on during the journey, I said what I was going to do. Get university degrees, I was going to contribute to society by publishing, and I was going to find 10 people that believed in me. Finding 10 people that believe in you, that you don't know and that don't know you, that is a massive accomplishment when you're in prison. Because each one of those 10 people knows at least 10 more people. Now, all of a sudden, you've got access to 100 people, and perhaps 1,000 people. And all of those people can be of great value to you as you're trying to create initiatives or create something new. I can tell you that I was inside of I was in a minimum security camp already. It was like in my 20th year or 22nd year or something like that. And I got a letter my wife came to see me. And I remember when she came to see me, she wasn't supposed to come that day. She was supposed to be working. And she told me the day before, I'm coming to see you. And I said, why are you coming to see me over the phone? You're supposed to be working. And she's told me, she said, no, I have to come. I can't, I promised I wouldn't say anything over the phone. And I really didn't get it. I didn't understand why she would be coming to see me on this day and this visiting day, because that wasn't part of our plan. And I was very strict with my accountability metrics. And, we had visiting points that we had to live by, and we had time that we had to talk on the phone. And, so everything was measured in my life. And so when she was going to come on a day that I didn't budget for, it shifted everything. I didn't understand it. So I said, okay, if it's this urgent, there must be something. And so she came to see me. And I said, why are you here? What's going on? And she told me, you're not going to believe this. I said, well, what's that? She said, well, I got a phone call yesterday from, his name is Sam Sheldon. You heard one of the earlier guests. I don't remember who was it that knew Sam. Who was it that knew Sam? Some other guy featured on the show knew Sam Sheldon. I don't remember who it was. Oh, I know who it was. It was the fella who got out from Florida, Luis Rivera, right? He was serving life plus 140 years, and Sam Sheldon got him out of prison. But I didn't know Sam at the time. I was in jail. I was in the camp, and my wife told me she got this call from Sam Sheldon. Well, the funny thing is Sam Sheldon was an assistant United States attorney, and he had learned about my case, and he'd learned about all the work that I did in prison. And he reached out to my wife and he said, I've read, some of your husband's books. I've read a lot of his work, and I'm an assistant United States attorney, and I'm going to help to try and get him out of prison. There's nothing I can do. Only the president can let him out. But as an assistant United States attorney, he was from a totally different district that I was in. But he said that he wanted to invest his time and his energy and his reputation to help me get out of prison. And over the next 3 or 4 years, they all worked together to try to get me out, but it didn't work. It just wasn't the right climate at that time. This was 2010, 11. There wasn't a lot of movement on getting people out of prison. There wasn't a lot of movement yet on mass incarceration or bringing awareness to how challenging our prison system is. But this was an assistant United States attorney, and he was aware of my work, and he wanted to use his reputation to help me. And he found me a team of lawyers that all started working for me pro bono, developing petitions that were going to first go to the district court, and then the appellate court, and then to the president for commutation. I didn't get any of that, but it didn't matter. I remember when my wife told me the story that this group of law-abiding citizens, leadership, were going to use all of their energy without any cost to me whatsoever to try and get me out of prison. I can tell you there was a whole new sense of liberty for me, because that's really what I wanted. I wanted people to believe in me. I wanted to be seen as somebody who didn't really belong in prison anymore. I didn't want me to feel it. I wanted people that I didn't know to feel it. And there were so many of those kinds of relationships that came into my life while I was in prison. I got married when I was in prison. I found my first employers while I was still in prison. I connected with my first job. My first job was as a professor at San Francisco State University. I was a professor within 3 weeks of finishing my 26 years inside. And it's the craziest thing in the world. But here's how it happened. It was because I was aware of opportunities, and then people became aware of me. I didn't even know who they were. I didn't even know who those people were. I think it's that book behind me, Inside: Life Behind Bars in America. I'd published that book. I think it came out in like 2006 or so. I still had about a decade to serve. And universities from across the country were using that book to teach college students. And one of those students happened to be this professor named Dr. Jeffrey Snipes, who was at Stanford. And he read the book, and it spoke to him. And he read it as part of his coursework. And 10 years later, when I got out of prison, he reached out to me and he invited me. He'd graduated, he has a PhD, and he was a professor and head of the criminal justice department at San Francisco State University. And I was in San Francisco. I was in the halfway house at San Francisco. And he invited me to come to San Francisco, and so I went. I'd been doing a lot of speaking already. Even while I was in the halfway house, I was speaking at Berkeley and Stanford and other prisons and other institutions. And he invited me to come down to San Francisco State. So I thought they wanted me to come down and give a lecture to the students, the criminal justice class. But when I got there, he told me, tell us your story. And there was a team of other professors there. And it was fine. I was very happy to share why I believed that our nation's, prison system really was ripe for reform, and why we needed to get more people involved to help more people get mechanisms to earn their way to liberty. I didn't get out a day early, but I wanted to use what I had learned to help other people get out early. And so after I made my presentation, he asked me if I wanted a job at San Francisco State. And I needed a job because I was in the halfway house, and I was going to need a job when I finished all that. And I said, what did you want me to do? I thought maybe you want me to be a janitor or clean up, and it would have been cool. I didn't care because I was working to build my business, and I knew baby steps, right? I got to take this to get there, I mean, it wasn't that I needed an income, but I did need a job because I was going to transition from the halfway house to, what do you call that? A supervised release, and my parole officer or probation officer was going to require me to have employment. So I just wanted a place to hang my hat that I could work on my own things and have a full-time job so my probation officer wouldn't be too challenging for me. And he said, no, I want you to, I want you to be a professor here. I want you to be a member of the faculty. And it was just, I was so blown away. And I asked, well, how did you even, hear about my work? He said, I've been aware of your work for years. So he said, when I was in grad school, I read your book. And I don't know if it was Inside or one of my earlier books, but that's the message here. You see, what are all the steps? How do I connect that? Was I lucky that I just got hired at the university? No, I wasn't lucky. I was exposed to a mastermind, Socrates and Gandhi and Viktor Frankl and Nelson Mandela and Malcolm X and so many other people. And they inspired me to want to learn. And so I started to develop my vocabulary and then develop my writing skills. And the more I started to write, the more I started to think about what I could do. And then I reached out. I found universities where I could go to school, and I told them my story. I don't have any money. I was a terrible student in school, but I want to learn. And, you send 100 of those letters out. You get somebody writing you back, and that leads me into the college program, and then I get my undergraduate and repeat the same process and get my master's, and then, begin reading to publishers. And then people start reading my books, and people are becoming aware of me. I'm aware of the opportunities that were available to everybody else in prison, but then the world became aware of me because I documented the effort, and I continued to do that. And I'm doing that out here. And it's because of that I will share with you on the last video. I think it's called Authenticity. I'm going to throw pictures up here. It won't just be me talking. I'm going to show you, this is what I am doing. These are the things that I am doing. And some of them are crazy. They don't seem possible to a guy that just got out of prison a couple of years ago. But it's real. And you won't only hear me saying it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the things so that you'll see. Because I don't want to be somebody that's telling you anything that's not accurate. But I never ask anybody to do anything that I didn't do or that I'm not currently doing, because this is real for me. This really helped me get through prison, and it helped me come back strong. And this is the path that I want for each of you. If you're on this path, you are going to become aware of opportunities, and the world is going to become aware of you. And I want to help you do that. So that's what I had to share in this message. This is I don't remember what number it is, but it's the concept of awareness. I think this is message number 8. Is it 8? Awareness. Then there's achievement, appreciation, authenticity. Yes, I guess that's number 8. But I hope you found some value in it, and I hope you take the next step and you respond to the question that I have at the end of the video. It'll stay on for about 3 minutes. I hope it's on your screen. And I hope that you will respond by sending me your response through email so that I can clip it, I can cut and paste it, and it'll go onto the website jobsandresourcesforfelons.com, and we can show more people outside why we need improvements in our criminal justice system, why we need mechanisms that will allow people to earn freedom, because there are so many people working to position themselves for success and reconciliation and new opportunities. And that's what I hope that we can work together in doing. Thank you very much for another episode. I've got a few more guys that are going to be sharing their stories. I don't know who's coming next because I'm scheduling these and trying to record as much as I can in between my other responsibilities. So thanks again. I look forward to hearing about your success in the future.